I never thought the word family could sound like a stranger's rejection, but that's exactly what it felt like that night. I had driven 2 hours wearing my best dress, clutching the invitation card I had designed and paid for myself. It was supposed to be my parents' big family gala, the kind of event they bragged about for months. I told myself, maybe this time will be different. Maybe this time they'll actually see me. I walked into the lobby, heels clicking against marble floors, my heart racing with a strange mix of hope and nerves. I saw relatives laughing, holding champagne glasses, taking photos in glittering gowns. For a moment, I felt like I belonged, until I reached the entrance. That's when I heard it. "Sorry, you're not welcome. Please leave." At first, I thought it was a joke. I even smiled, waiting for someone to laugh and say, "Ha ha, gotcha." But no one laughed. Instead, 2 security guards stepped forward, and then my father's voice, loud, sharp, meant for everyone to hear. "Get this beggar out of here." The room froze. Heads turned. My name is Clara Bennett. I'm 36 years old, and in that instant, I wasn't their daughter. I was a spectacle, a stranger in my own family story. Did I scream, cry, demand answers? No. I stood there, spine straight, eyes dry. My mother refused to meet my gaze. My sister smirked from across the room, her glass raised like she was toasting my humiliation. I turned and walked away. No words, no tears. Just the echo of my footsteps against marble that had been polished with my money. Yes, my money. What they didn't know, what none of those relatives knew, was that every single glittering piece of that night had my fingerprints all over it. The invitations, the venue deposit, the catering, the champagne tower, the hotel rooms for out-of-town guests, even the string quartet my mother insisted on for elegance. They thought it was funded by Dad's retirement bonus. It wasn't. It came from my account. Quietly, willingly, for years. And yet, on the one night I thought I could stand among them, I was erased like I never existed. But here's the part they didn't see. The part that would turn their celebration into something else entirely. As I walked back to my car, I wasn't broken. I was awake. I sat behind the wheel, hands shaking, not from sadness, but from clarity. I opened my banking app, stared at the long list of transactions linked to that event, and whispered to myself, "Not anymore." One by one, I began reversing charges, thousands at a time. Catering, gone. Honeymoon tickets for my sister, canceled, mid-check-in. Spa packages, vanished. Even the payments for their so-called retirement beach house, frozen instantly. By the time I put my phone down, I had clawed back over $70,000. In one night, their banquet of glory became a banquet of debt. And that was just the beginning. Because what none of them realized was that I had been preparing for this moment for years, quietly, patiently, carefully. I had kept receipts, contracts, documents, proof of every dime I'd given, every sacrifice I'd made. While they treated me like a ghost at their table, I had built a fortress of facts. So when my sister's husband showed up to my door that night, red-faced and demanding answers, he didn't find a beggar. He found the one person who held the keys to their entire illusion. And the best part? This wasn't just about revenge. This was about revelation. What my family didn't know was that I had been holding on to something that would tear apart not just their banquet, but the entire foundation of lies they had built for decades. And when the truth finally came out, it wouldn't be whispered in hallways or hidden in family gossip. It would be written in ink, stamped by the courts, and broadcast to every last relative who once toasted my erasure. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Because before the reckoning, there was the night I stopped being their silent lifeline and became something far more dangerous. The one they couldn't ignore. The one holding the receipts. I walked back into my house, my hands shaking as I closed the front door. The sound of that slam echoed through the empty rooms, louder than ever before. For a moment, I just stood there, leaning against the door, feeling my heartbeat thundering in my chest. I thought back to the moment my daughter had first told me she was getting married. The words had felt like sunlight breaking through the clouds. "Mom, I finally found someone. He's the one." My eyes had filled with tears of joy back then. But little did I know that joy would soon twist into a heartbreak I never imagined. You see, for months, I waited for an invitation. I checked the mailbox every morning like a schoolgirl waiting for her first love letter. I thought maybe it got lost in the mail. Maybe it was delayed. Maybe she was planning to surprise me. But the weeks passed, and the wedding date drew closer. And still, nothing. That's when I realized I wasn't invited at all. The shock was unbearable. My own daughter. The little girl whose scraped knees I used to bandage, whose nightmares I used to chase away, whose every birthday I celebrated like it was a holiday. She was shutting me out of the most important day of her life. And for what? To this day, I still don't know the answer. But what came next? That's the part that will leave you speechless. Because after the wedding, she came knocking. Not for love, not for reconciliation, but for something much, much bigger. She wanted my beach house. Yes, the very house where my father and I had built our dreams. The house where she grew up. The house filled with memories of family dinners, laughter echoing down the hall, the smell of Sunday pancakes, and the sound of waves crashing outside the window. She wanted that. All of it. And she wanted it for herself. But why? And how did I respond when my daughter, who once had shut me out of her wedding, now stood there demanding my most treasured possession? Well, that's where this story takes a turn you won't expect. The knock on my door that evening was gentle, almost hesitant. When I opened it, there she was, my daughter. The same daughter who hadn't wanted me at her wedding. She smiled nervously, holding her purse tightly, as though she were about to deliver the most difficult message of her life. "Mom," she began, her voice sweet, almost too sweet. "I've been thinking a lot lately about family, about memories, about how important they are." I stared at her in silence. My heart wanted to melt, to embrace her, to believe she finally realized what she had done. But my mind was screaming, "Be careful." She continued, "You know, that beach house of yours, it means so much to me. I grew up there. It's where I learned to ride a bike, where Dad taught me to swim, where you taught me how to bake cookies. It's not just a house, Mom. It's my childhood." Her words cut through me. Yes, everything she said was true, but why now? Why after all this time? After all the silence? After the pain of being left out of her wedding? Then she dropped the real reason. "My husband and I, we need a place. A bigger place. Somewhere special. And I think the beach house is perfect. You don't really need it anymore, do you?" That last question felt like a knife in my chest. You don't really need it anymore. As if my memories didn't matter. as if my life was already behind me, as if I was just some old woman holding on to something she didn't deserve. I took a deep breath. "So, let me get this straight," I said slowly. "You didn't want me at your wedding, but now you want my house." Her face tightened. For a moment, she dropped the sweetness. The charm slipped, and I saw something colder underneath. "It's not about that, Mom," she said quickly. "Don't be so dramatic. We just need a place to start our family. And honestly, don't you think it's the least you can do for me after everything you've put me through?" Those words, they hit harder than any slap. After everything you put me through? Me? The woman who had given up nights of sleep to care for her, who had worked 2 jobs to put food on the table, who had sacrificed everything so she could have a better life? Now I was the villain? I stood frozen, my heart breaking into pieces I didn't even know existed. But deep inside, a fire was starting to burn. Because sometimes, love has to have boundaries. And I was about to show her that. I looked at my daughter, this grown woman standing in front of me, her arms crossed now, no longer pretending to be the sweet little girl I once knew. For a moment, I didn't even recognize her. All the years of bedtime stories, the scraped knees, the birthday cakes, the sacrifices, they all flashed through my mind like a movie. And now, here she was, demanding the one place that held every piece of my heart. I steadied my voice. "Sweetheart, the beach house isn't just wood and walls. It's my life. Your father and I built it together. It holds everything we ever worked for, everything we ever dreamed of. I can't just hand it over like it's nothing." Her eyes narrowed. "So that's it? You'd rather hold on to a pile of bricks than help your own daughter?" My chest tightened, but before I could answer, she went on, her words sharper than ever. "You were never there for me the way I needed. You always put your own life first. This beach house, it's the least you owe me." Owe her? My knees nearly buckled. I had given her everything. But in that moment, something inside me snapped. I straightened my back, looked her right in the eyes, and said calmly, "No, I don't owe you anything. Not the house, not my peace, not my memories. I gave you my love, my time, my life. What you do with that is up to you. But this house stays with me." For the first time, she looked stunned. Like she had expected me to crumble, to give in, to hand over my heart on a silver platter. But I didn't. Silence stretched between us. Then, with a scoff, she grabbed her purse and stormed out the door. The sound of her footsteps fading down the porch steps echoed like thunder in my ears. I closed the door behind her, my hands trembling, but not with fear this time, with strength. Because for the first time in years, I chose myself. And that choice changed everything. That night, after she left, the house felt heavier than ever. I sat in the living room with only the sound of the waves crashing outside. For a long time, I wondered if I had done the right thing. A mother's heart, it never stops loving, no matter how deep the wounds are. And mine was torn to pieces. But as I looked around, the photographs on the wall, the seashell lamp her father bought me on our anniversary, the dining table where we had countless family dinners, I realized something powerful. This house wasn't just a building. It wasn't just a place. It was proof of a life lived, sacrifices made, love shared. And giving it away wouldn't just mean losing a property, it would mean erasing myself. For days, I didn't hear from her. The silence was deafening, but slowly something inside me shifted. Instead of waiting by the phone, instead of crying into the night, I started living again. I woke up early to watch the sunrise over the ocean. I planted flowers in the garden. I cooked meals for myself and actually sat down to enjoy them. And one evening, as the golden sun dipped into the sea, I realized I was free. Free from the guilt of not being enough. Free from the chains of demands I could never satisfy. And free from the idea that my worth depended on what I could give away. And then came the twist I never expected. A letter arrived in the mail. No, not from my daughter, from her husband. Inside, he wrote words that stunned me. I'm sorry for how she treated you. I know she hurt you deeply. I want you to know it wasn't right. You don't owe us anything. Please take care of yourself. I hope one day she realizes what she's lost. Tears spilled down my face as I read it, not because it fixed everything, but because for the first time, someone acknowledged my pain. I don't know if my daughter will ever come back, or if she'll ever see me for who I really am. But one thing is certain. I will never again apologize for holding on to what matters most. The beach house is still mine. My memories are still mine. And so is my strength. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough.